Diplomat, faced with a provocation at a high international level, faces a difficult task, not only not to give in to emotions, but also to turn a tense moment into a chance to demonstrate his skills. One wrong word can exacerbate the conflict, while the ability to answer with restraint and dignity can not only neutralize the attack, but also cause respect even among opponents. The recent story unfolding at the UN has attracted the attention of the world community. During the meeting, where accusations against Russia were made, the diplomatic duel reached an unexpected apogee. Opponents expected a harsh reaction, but something happened that no one could have predicted. Instead of an aggressive response, a step followed, which not only diffused the situation, but also changed the tone of the whole discussion. This incident became a vivid example of how the skill of diplomacy can turn the tide of events, leaving observers in admiration. The end of this story surprised everyone, and its analysis continues to be a topic for discussion in diplomatic circles. The Russian diplomat caused a real sensation with his unexpected reaction to Germany's provocative actions at the UN Security Council meeting. This incident attracted the attention of not only domestic, but also foreign political analysts, including those from China. The event has become one of the main topics of discussion in the world media, and its details are actively analyzed by experts in international relations. The political situation in recent years has paid special attention to the reaction of the representative of Russia to the actions of the German minister. As you know, relations between Russia and Germany have deteriorated significantly in recent years. These two countries, which in the past cooperated closely in the economic and diplomatic spheres, are now in a state of serious political conflict. Many factors, including the beginning of the conflict in Ukraine, led to the fact that Berlin not only supported sanctions against Russia, but also actively promotes the policy of isolating Moscow in the international arena. Moreover, the German leadership does not hide its goals. It openly declares its desire for the strategic defeat of Russia and takes all possible steps to achieve this goal. The provocation was not a surprise. According to the article published by Sohu, at one of the last meetings of the UN Security Council, German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock harshly criticized Russia. Her speech was aimed at drawing the attention of the world community to Moscow's actions, which, according to Baerbock, violate international norms and order. However, if many expected an ordinary diplomatic discussion, the reality turned out to be much more interesting. At the rostrum of the United Nations, every word attracts the attention of the world community, the authors of the Chinese edition Sohu note. Indeed, every speech within the framework of the UN is not just words, it is a signal to the world community, which is carefully analyzed by experts and journalists around the world. This is especially true of Annalena Baerbock's speech, whose performances always attract attention due to her sharpness and critical tone. Accusing of violating international norms, she spoke about alleged crimes and human rights violations, which, according to her, allegedly took place in the course of Russian foreign policy. However, she didn't stop there. Her attention soon switched to the permanent representative of Russia, sharply criticizing and accusing him of defending the actions of his country, which, according to the minister, cannot be justified. The situation heated up when Baerbock tried to bring Nebenzia out of balance. She made several sharp statements, trying to provoke the reaction of the Russian diplomat. One of the loudest was her statement, "You can deceive yourself, but not me," Baerbock said, addressing Nebenzia. It was a clear attempt to inject the Russian representative and force him to enter into an argument. However, the result was unexpected for everyone present in the hall. Instead of reacting to these attacks, Nebenzia remained completely calm. Moreover, his reaction surprised not only Baerbock, but also all those present. The Russian diplomat did not respond to the provocations from the German minister. He did not try to justify himself or respond to the accusations. Instead, Nebenzia looked absolutely unperturbed and focused on the other. He continued to do his business. Instead of trying to argue with her, he looked extremely indifferent, studying something in his smartphone, Chinese journalists note, emphasizing how unusual such a reaction to such a provocation was. Unlike many other diplomats who could have responded to the accusations against them, Nebenzia preferred to ignore Baerbock's attacks, which further emphasized his calmness and confidence. This behavior of the Russian representative played a decisive role in the outcome of this diplomatic scene. Baerbock's provocation failed to achieve its goal. She failed to bring Nebenzia out of balance or make him justify himself. Her attempts looked unconvincing and even a little ridiculous, because if a diplomat does not respond to the accusation, it can be perceived as a sign that these accusations do not deserve attention. Chinese analysts emphasize that Nebenzia's calmness have become an important factor in the diplomatic game. The Russian representative waited for the end of the meeting and calmly left the hall without making a single comment. This has become a symbol of Russia's confidence in its position in the international arena. Despite all attempts at pressure, such diplomatic techniques, according to Chinese observers, are much more effective than direct confrontation. Without entering into an open confrontation and not seeing the point of wasting time discussing with those who are trying to provoke, this creates an image of Russia as a country that does not succumb to external provocations and confidently follows its policy. Despite all the obstacles and pressures, as a result, Baerbock, who initially hoped to draw attention to her speech and put Nebenzia in an awkward position, was found unsuccessful. Vassily Nebenzia, on the contrary, has strengthened his reputation as a diplomat capable of maintaining his cool even in the most tense situations, which will undoubtedly be an important lesson for all those who are trying to put Russia in an uncomfortable position in the international arena. Thus, this episode once again demonstrated how important in diplomacy is not only the estate in general, but also the restraint of the diplomat in response to provocations. It became a clear example of effective diplomatic tactics under international pressure. So, this story, which happened at a meeting of the UN Security Council, perfectly illustrates the importance of endurance and composure in complex international diplomatic relations. The reaction of Russian diplomat Vassily Nebenzia to the sharp and provocative speech of German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock left a strong impression on the world community. Baerbock expected that her harsh accusations and aggressive tone would force the Russian representative to enter into an argument, defend himself or, perhaps, even justify Russia's policy. However, her expectations were not met. Nebenzia chose an unexpected tactic, the tactics of complete ignoring. He did not react to the attacks of the German diplomat, but instead demonstrated complete calmness and equanimity. This behavior was a powerful signal. Russia does not succumb to external pressure and is confident in its position. Nebenzia's demonstrative calmness in such a tense situation became an example of how the strength of diplomatic reaction can lie not in words, but in their absence. In a world where political rhetoric is becoming more and more aggressive and emotional, sometimes the best answer is silence. His ignoring of Baerbock's attacks looked like a demonstration that Germany's accusations did not deserve a serious answer. It was a diplomatic move that emphasized Russia's confidence in its position and readiness for further struggle in the international arena without unnecessary disputes. It is especially important that such tactics are not just a way out of conflict. In this case, Nebenzia's silence made a strategic sense. First, it stressed that Russia does not intend to get involved in emotional disputes that can distract attention from the essence of the issue. Secondly, this behavior of the Russian side emphasized its confidence in its actions. When a diplomat does not respond to provocations, it is often perceived as confidence in his rightness, as a reluctance to justify himself to those who are not ready to conduct a constructive dialogue. Drawing the attention of the world community to her speech, hoping that her criticism of Russia would cause wide support, Baerbock did not achieve her goal. Nebenzia's lack of reaction actually weakened the effect of her words. After all, if criticism remains unanswered, it begins to look insignificant. This can be interpreted as a sign that the opponent sees no point in responding to such accusations. Thus, Baerbock's provocation was unsuccessful. Instead of weakening Russia's position in the UN, its attempt to infuse Nebenzia only emphasized the strength and endurance of the Russian diplomat. It is important to note that diplomacy is not always a matter of verbal dispute or loud statements. Often the strongest impression is made by actions or their absence, which remain in the memory of all participants in the process. In the case of Nebenzia, his behavior demonstrated the ability to remain calm in a difficult situation, which is one of the main qualities of a successful diplomat in conditions when international relations are heated to the limit. This approach becomes especially valuable. In addition, this case shows how important it is for diplomatic success to be able to control emotions and avoid unnecessary conflicts. In the world of diplomacy, every word can gain considerable weight, and the ability to keep cool and not react to provocations becomes the most important tool. Nebenzia demonstrated that Russia is ready to conduct complex international negotiations on its own terms, without succumbing to external attempts at pressure. This episode also reflects Russia's overall strategy in the international arena under economic sanctions and political pressure. Confidence in one's actions and readiness to defend one's interests, Nebenzia's behavior in the UN has become a symbol of this strategy. This case was a clear example of how effective diplomacy based on calm and confidence can be, even in the most tense international circumstances. In the end, Nebenzia's reaction turned out to be not just a successful tactic, but an important diplomatic signal that left no room for further provocations and created an image of Russia as a country confident in its position and ready for further international challenges.